وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem. Welcome to this episode of Anhar. As you would have known, Anhar brings you various topics of societal importance, economic, political, environmental, and so on and so forth. So we have been touching on various topics. So this week, this particular episode is on a sense of conflict, how conflicts erupt, how conflicts should be resolved, what are the causes of conflict. So we'll kick off this discussion with Dr. Abstar Yusuf, founder of Endeavour. Thank you for making it. As usual, shall we kick off this conversation by defining what conflict is? What are your thoughts on conflict?
Okay.
As to the meaning?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajmain. Thank you for inviting me for this one-to-one discussion. I think, as you said, the topic is of seminal importance in the sense that this whole world is full of conflict. If this world was without any conflict, without defining it yet, but we know when we say conflict, this world would be a very boring place, obviously, as we see it in this context of the world. So I would say conflicts are differing opinions of people coming together, and that bringing about a moment of chaos. And that chaos is because our minds don't meet. Every situation is about some event or a thing or a concept that we come to talk about. If I was just ruminating on a topic, I wouldn't have a conflict with myself. But sometimes I may have, if I had a different view in the past of this same thing, like people who get enlightened, perhaps. They were in a whole different ball game before, and then after listening to somebody interesting or reading a very interesting book, they began to question themselves as to, what was I thinking about this problem? Hey, I'm beginning to change my views because what I have read or what I've heard makes a lot of sense. I never thought of those things. So that can be a little bit of a conflict resolution within the body, within your own self. But we are talking about conflicts outside ourselves, between people, between communities, between families, between nations. And so all this have the basic idea that you are trying to protect yourself. I have an opinion and you have an opinion. So when we both meet and we talk about this, we cannot come to common terms right away. And sometimes we don't want to come to common terms because I am afraid that I will lose my authority of what I know or what I stand for or what I see as how I have lived all these lives. So that's where the conflict is. Now, if you can, in a discussion or a dialogue, if you can come to common terms, meaning you can agree on a lot of things, there are very few things that you don't agree, then you have come a long way. And that is why I think in Islam also, in Al Imran Surah, I think verse 64, it's about coming to common terms. Huh? He calls on the people of the book, come to common terms, that Allah is His oneness and all that. So in that sense, we also can come to common terms if we can come to explain each other to the other person, so that this confusion does not have to be. And I think that's where the conflict is resolved, if we can just solve that by ourselves. And most of the time that happens. Now, if you imagine you and your friend, or me and my friend, we both were going to a restaurant for lunch, and we don't know where to go. I want to have biryani, you want to have some kind of a pasta. Now, how do we resolve that problem? That's also a little bit of a conflict. Maybe not something which will bring the sky down, but still. So in that sense, I will finally say, okay, next week we'll go for pasta, this week we'll go for biryani. That could be a solution to the problem. You win, I win. So it has to be a win-win solution ultimately. So ultimately, but there again, as I said, what is the real basis of this conflict? Why does it arise? It's all because I am not willing to give in to what you are saying. And that is because of a fear I have. Yeah. Some kind of a psychological fear. It's not that you will come and destroy me or something like that. It can be that when you come to a level of nations, perhaps. You have that fear also. But I don't think in the ordinary things where you go to the school or the marketplace, you have that kind of fear. But it's about losing face, ultimately. So if you can avoid that, then you feel happy. And so in a situation of conflict resolution, you have to bring about that harmony without you feeling I have lost and the other person feeling I have won. It has to be a combined win-win situation. And that's the challenge of these things. Sometimes we can't come to common terms by ourselves. So you may have to bring a mediator, for instance.
Right.
I think that's enough for a start.
Yeah, with a person, your, let's say, your mates or your interlocutor or whoever is you are interacting with, maybe your colleagues, maybe within a family. But yeah, the common ground, we have to have a common ground for us to converge our views. And diverging views are also quite natural, right? We cannot have always
absolutely
people thinking along the same lines. There will be people falling out of the line, whether we are doing something or planning something or executing something. There will always be people falling out of the line, and there will be conflicts arising, as you said, now and then. It's part of life,
yes.
Daily life, weekly, and even it can happen at any moment in time. But important thing is how to resolve it and how not to leave it go beyond control, out of control. So sometimes it's in an organization when conflicts arise, we misjudge the conflict as a symptom of a bigger problem, while conflict itself is an outcome of a misunderstanding or interpersonal relations going awry, something wrong. So what are your thoughts or comments on resolving interpersonal issues arising in an organization or even in a family, within a family?
I think before we can go to resolving, I think that's the final part. I think resolving or preventing, these are the real solutions that we are trying to seek. But I think understanding the concerns, understanding the dynamics of conflict is very important. As I said, there is something about losing face. I have a viewpoint and you have a viewpoint, and we, in a discussion, usually it is not resolvable because you are always talking to me about how you feel and I'm talking about how I feel. But we have to get underneath that basic feeling that we have or the position we take in order for us to realize why are we in conflict. As I said, one of the basic things is fear. Fear is really the underlying thing. I'm afraid that I will lose. In a game also, why we fight so much is because we don't want to lose. Even in a war also, we fight so much with heart and soul because we don't want to lose. If we lose, other people will take over, and I don't want that, or my whole life will fall apart. Or if you're fighting for a position in a government, misalakam, or in a job, you, of course, you fight it in a positive way, where you try to promote and explain your expertise and to the board of, let's say, the selection committee, of your quality and how your government or your office can benefit from with you as a staff member. Now, if I can convince them, and they will feel from what I say that I really understand your organization and I know what I must do. And of course, the job has to have very clear descriptions also, what my role would be. If I am to be a coordinator for something, I must be given terms of reference that says, you will do this, this, and that. So at least I know that is my role. So I won't be conflicting with another coordinator of another program because I know where I stand and they must know where they stand. Then there will be harmony. So in order for us to understand this dynamics, we have to know what are those feelings. Obviously, there will be differing interests. I may have different feelings of how this program must be run. Another person may have different, or my staff may not understand the goals that I'm setting. We have to have a collective shared goals in order for us to go to a certain destination. So if I have not, as the leader, communicated my role, everybody's goal, and the role each one will play categorically, precisely, then you will have conflict, because it's a matter of you plowing through what I must do and somebody else must do. When the lines are crossed, then you get upset. That is my job, that's not your job. That's my money and that's not your money. So all those things will happen. So I think clear goals are very important in an organization where each staff must know the territory that he governs. It has to be. And if each person knows the details of that, so that will not happen. But the problem is communicating those goals to the people also. It's enough to write in a very nice piece of paper, in good language, maybe even in not confusing manner also, but everybody reads this not in the same way. So the leaders, or who is the major, that's a CEO or team leader, must explain to them in no uncertain terms, this is your job. Hassan, this is yours. Ibrahim, this is yours. And explaining means you have to have good communication. Right? Without good communication, you are unable to explain to them. And good communication meaning it's not just about to talk, but about to convey an idea to the other person in a way that they will say, yes, I understand.
Even listening is good communication, right?
Yeah, listening is the essence of good communication, because if you don't listen, you don't know what the other person is saying. So you don't know what question to ask the other person. Hey, I didn't understand what you said about relating to other people. Or I didn't understand where my job relates to the financial part of it. So all those have to be, and that means a good communicator must have a lot of good vocabulary also.
Right.
Right? Whether it's in English or Divehi or whatever. Divehi Baskoraru has to be very rich. English also, the vocabulary must be nuanced, because many things, especially when you have to do technical work and deal with complex situations, you have to explain it in that complexity also. And that means the nuanced situations have to be explained by the nuance of the words that you use. So that is a very good thing. Otherwise, you become, just say, hey, you do this and that. You said, I didn't know exactly how I'd, so please don't blame me if I can't do it properly. And I think that's the way it is. And everybody wants to do a good job, but you can do it as clearly to the degree that you are clear about your what you must exactly do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. Conflicts arise very often when you don't try to understand the other person's standpoint, the viewpoint. And not only the viewpoint, in what frame of mind is the person? In what state of mind is the person? What's going on in the person's life? For example, there may be rough
You mean
behavior.
the one who is bringing up a problem
The
to you?
one, yeah, if you are at the receiving end of a complaint or allegation or
Okay,
hurt or bullying, for example, or a conflict, if you are at the, if you have not initiated any conflict with anyone, but there is a,
So you're the mediator, essentially.
not the mediator, but somebody is getting at you, for example, for some reason.
Okay.
And then you are getting hurt, you are being targeted, or you are at the receiving end of the misbehavior or the mistreatment.
So what is an example, for instance?
So the conflict arises when you don't want to bear it. The conflict is you don't want to bear it. That's not the life you want. That's not the experience you want to go through. You don't want this behavior, these allegations, this mistreatment from anybody. So there's a conflict. The resolution of the conflict lies in understanding what's going on in the person who is misbehaving, who is mistreating you, who is throwing allegations at you. So there are incidences where when such situations are diagnosed, when really delved into it, people have found out that the person was in a very unsettled state of mind, going through some deep problem because of maybe bereavement, somebody has died in the family, or son or daughter or husband has died, and so there is no empathy or sympathy from the colleagues or understand, there's nobody to share. So that lack of emotional connection within the organization leads to...
Now, would you say, I will just ask you, because I need to clarify, are you having a conflict with the other person as a boss or as a colleague?
No, these are middle level, let's say middle level.
So you are also a middle level person.
Yeah.
And he is also
referring to two staff members of equal rank.
Okay. So you're just explaining something that's happening. Okay.
Yeah. So when such a scenario arises, somebody will suffer from bullying and misbehavior of the other. And so the conflict is not because they are in confrontation. Confrontation is the higher level of conflict, perhaps. So conflict arises. So in such scenarios, if one is willing to probe into the problems or the misbehavior of the situation, there are instances where people have found out the reality of such misbehavior, such bullying, such hurt against committing against others. So the frame of mind, the state of mind, and trying to understand that person in private, perhaps through a private conversation, often helps. So being a good listener and being understanding of the other person's standpoint, viewpoint, often leads to diffusion of these conflicts.
Yeah, very true. Now, if there were two colleagues in confrontational situation, there must be something that triggered it. That has to be brought first. Now, maybe this person got the job and that person did not get the job. Let's say the promotion, for instance, and he's very unhappy.
Case of envy.
Well, I don't know whether, just per se, the situation is that because this man got the job and he didn't get the job, the other person did not. This person who is making the problem does not, is not happy with that. He thinks it's unfair, right? So first they're having a collusion, let's say collision between themselves. This man is arguing, this man is throwing expletives at this man, and the other one is a more gentle person from what I hear, what you're saying, and he is very quiet, he is not retaliating. So the conflict is resolved by the fact that you have been patient. This other person has been patient and listening to what he's saying, but that doesn't solve the problem. He continues to be angry with that other person because he got this job, for instance. It's just one situation.
Yeah.
So the solution has to be taken up to somebody, because if he bothers this person who got the job so much that this person with the new job he's not even able to work.
I think it's very important, to mediate.
Yeah, so somebody else, maybe someone else from the office will mediate and try to find the solution. And some ways, this is not a problem-solving discussion, but the idea is the mediator has to be an honest and a balanced person who is respected and seem to be fair. And it is through that these two people can come to common terms. And once they come to common terms, then that problem is solved.
Yes, the mediator's role is essential to resolve a conflict. We'll take a break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Our topic is essence of conflict. So we left off from conflict resolution through mediation.
Yes, you can do that. Yeah, there are other ways also, but mostly it is. It can be through mediation. It has to be if it comes to the common. If it comes to a head, then you have to do that. But otherwise, two people can by the fact that one is more mature than the other person, perhaps they are not both at loggerheads like in a marketplace brawl or something like that, where both people are as confused and they're just fighting, for something. But it's always for something.
Yeah.
That you're not happy with the situation that there is. Maybe the price of fish he was charging was more than the other people. He said, these guys were giving it to me for 30 rupees a kilo, and now you're giving me it for 50 rupees per kilo. Now that, something like that. Or it can be a teacher, for instance.
Yeah.
No, I want to tell this because these are the situations. Now a teacher and a parent should have a problem also.
These are very realistic situations for organizations.
Maybe teacher and parent.
Let's pivot to family conflicts. What's the role of the mediator, and what are the characteristics of the mediator? As you said, the qualities both families would agree, and something like that.
Are you talking about a marriage? In a marriage?
Yeah, between husbands and wives, conflicts arising in families.
Well, there are situations where husband and wives can, if they are mature enough, they can solve by themselves. I mean, there are husbands and wives who are very, very gentle and who are very patient. And the patient ultimately wins because in a moment of anger, you may say things which are very, very hurtful, but after the anger dies down, the love and things are always there. I don't think
heat of the moment.
Yeah, it was a momentary thing, and then they can come to common terms and we won't do this again. Let's try to be more thoughtful or something like that. But in a case of, let's say, perfidy or something like that, then which are very difficult to diffuse because now that person is crazy. One of them is crazy.
Unless there is some remorse and penitence on the part of the...
Now that's what I'm saying. In a situation of perfidy, of being unfair, unfaithful, for instance. That's what I mean by perfidy. Yeah, in a situation of that, how can, when somebody, let's say, gives their heart to somebody else while you are married, these kind of things also can happen.
Right.
And then that can be a very difficult thing And it's no simple solution to those things.
But then the forgiveness should, there should be room for forgiveness so that they can forgive each other. I mean, as you said, it's not easy to forgive unless the person changes quite noticeably his behavior. I mean, his remorse and penitence, and feeling sorry for the behavior, and having the intention not to repeat such behavior.
Yes. But it can happen again. If it recurs, then you have another problem on your hands, right?
So that's where the mediator comes.
Yeah, then a mediator. I think in Islam also, you have first to deal with it by yourself, and then if you can't, then you bring a mediator. And you have those 3 steps of what you do also.
So the choice of mediator, how to choose a mediator, what?
Yeah, essentially a mediator has to be respected by both parties. I think the same principles apply to this kind of situation, or mediation between 2 warring groups, 2 parties, or 2 nations even. You have to have a mediator who is respected by everyone for their fairness and justness. I don't know if that's a good word. Trustworthiness, yes.
Yeah.
And for somebody who has had experience in these things, like an Islamic scholar perhaps, or grandfather who has been a very wonderful stalwart of the family, maybe, many grandchildren.
Or maybe a common family friend.
Or that kind also could be. So that common factor has to be the just nature of the person, the trustworthy, reliability, and then something that you will defer to. You will defer, meaning you will accept what they say. That could be for an international level also, or in a political level also. You will have to have people who are mediators on two warring parties, for instance. If they have 2 different viewpoints on something, on a government policy or something like that, the whole idea in a democracy is also coming to common terms. We have in our.
So people who have that wisdom and tactfulness in dealing with situations of conflict.
Delicate situations. And I think that is why people who deal with delicate situations, the people who deal in conflict resolution, who are able to deal with conflict resolution in high positions also, they are given the high posts in an organization also. Because when you can deal with a person who is only doing the filing in the office, you have hundreds of people you can employ, right? So the positional authority is also related to your ability to be a PR person who can relate to other people, who has emotional intelligence also to be able to deal with complex situations, and who have the experience in dealing with people who have multiple derangements, as you say, psychological derangements.
Right.
There are those psychological, social issues, family problems. Many people bring a whole baggage to the office also, no?
Sometimes to the extent of showing themselves as if they are unhinged.
Unhinged?
They are unhinged. Sometimes the behavior is suggestive of completely unhinged, completely deranged.
Meaning they have lost their, the hinges have gone over.
Lost their
cool
senses,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
When it comes to conflicts in situations of, for example, in the business community, in the business business world, it's quite an irony that conflict arises in spite of the fact that you don't want conflict.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Conflict is not serving any good to you. And yet you, because of the ego, sometimes you sacrifice your values, your own interest, your own future, just to
protect.
Yeah, just to fuel the conflict yourself. You are fueling and fomenting the conflict which you don't want and which is going to cause harm to you. And you have the agency to change the situation, and yet you don't want to do it because of the ego. So ego is coming in the way of the resolution of the conflict. So if this sense of compromise is given some space, as you said, win-win, creating a win-win in a conflict, so that will not hurt their businesses. For example, if they are, for example, business partners or business in a business, maybe in a business relationship, maybe buyers and sellers sometimes run into conflict because of, sometimes it is because of perfidy, as you said, sometimes it is because of misunderstanding, misjudgment, or unhealthy assumptions, or wrong assumptions rather.
Yeah, but the conflict begins with a feeling that you, in your own rationality, have come to believe that the situation is unjust. The situation that is unjust. Like let's say, one nation invading another nation. Somebody feels it's just, other person feels it's unjust, right? Or in the school, let's say a teacher and the parent. The parent feels that her child must get
Right.
Must get a report. But the teacher says, no, that's not, she doesn't have the quality to get A report. But the parent fights for that. Now how do you solve that? Or in the marketplace, or on the playground, for instance, a football game, the referee gives a foul, and you believe it's not a foul, and the other person believes it is a foul, right? And now you have all these electronic media coming in to check the validity of that, how the umpire, how the referee has given the verdict or not, and finally it's solved. Maybe because everybody accepts that that method is okay. So similarly, when you have a situation where you say, let's say the very simple thing is the marketplace where you go bargaining. I don't think Maldives, we don't have that much of a bargaining situation, but if you go to Sri Lanka, India and all these places, many of these countries, Thailand also, you will not buy the thing that they have it on the marked price. They will say some other price. Let's say if it is 200 baht, you'll always start with 100 baht. And that person will say, no, 100 baht is too little. I can't even cover the cost of this, Leave alone the other overheads, not even the cost of the price. Then you talk and you convince each other, and finally, maybe you buy it for 150. Right? So that means it's a win-win situation. I have one, also has one. So always a solution will be a win-win situation. Where in a football game, if you have a draw, then it's a win-win situation. I've got 1 point, they got 1 point. But if they get 3 points for the goals, if they win, then other team is so sad.
Yeah.
Right? So then there will be that conflict. They will want next time by hook or crook to win with them. But the referee is there, so he's going to hold on to the justice part of it. You can't just go and win a game by tackling everybody and getting red cards, You
Right.
can't do that. So life is about these challenges. Every challenge is a conflict of sorts. So if you want a life that is really worth having Jannah, you have to solve conflicts in a good way so that you will get merit for that rather than demerit. I think that's where this world is a place of problems. And that's why we have been given that's why we have been given free will also. Because then we have to be responsible for what we do.
True. this is not blissful world, and this is no utopian society.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
problems will arise.
Yes.
And when a problem arises, it doesn't mean that the person should be altogether ruled out as incorrigible. So
Absolutely.
we should not label people as hopeless, but rather it's just maybe a spur of the moment, behavior or utterance
In some cases,
that has
yes,
caused so
yes.
much hurt, and there is so much of room for them to reform themselves, change their behavior, and to make a complete turnaround in their life.
Absolutely.
So that space should be given for people to come back, and that only happens with forgiveness.
But in our religion, it is there.
Absolutely.
You can always come back.
Yeah, we can always come back. So that forgiveness element, and apart from the forgiveness element, in cases of suspicion and in case of unproven, for example, hatred arising or anger arising from unproven
Assumptions.
Yeah, assumptions or suspicion, we can always give benefit of doubt to those people.
Think positively on that.
Yeah, think positive about them. Until and unless they are proven beyond doubt.
Continuously doing.
Yeah, continuously and repeatedly, showing the same behavior. So, how do you regard the concept of benefit of doubt within couples, within an organization, and within our society?
That's why I think in most organizations they have 3 times you have to bring and talk and advise and then give some warning, and then finally when it's absolutely impossible to manage such people, then you have to let them go. That's the way. Otherwise you have to be a very, you have to be kind. Kindness is a virtue, really. You have to learn to be that, because everybody can't be the same type of people. But if you are the leader, you must learn to know goodness, and you have to be a great listener. Like Nelson Mandela says, when he went with his father, the Zulu leader, to their community to have discussions, his father would not say a word. Everybody else will talk and talk. And somebody asked, why don't you say anything? He said, my job is to listen. And finally, I take a decision based on what you want, not what I want. Then only we have peace.
So there is power of listening, so much.
Yes. But the thing is, listening is a very difficult thing, because your mind is always wanting to say something, and you don't want to listen to the other person. While that person is talking, you are always framing a question in your mind to ask a question without relating to that. So active listening is a real art you have to build, leaders especially. Otherwise, because the moment you try to give a response every time, then
Right.
you will never get out of that that dialogue. It's not a dialogue;
So
it's a
that is
discussion.
putting your interest or your
So
ego forward
empathy to learn
at the cost of other person's viewpoint, other person's perception.
Very true. Yeah. Non-judgmental,
perspective,
right?
Yeah,
Non-judgmental. You can't be judging others.
So sometimes unresolved conflict is costing a lot, and these unresolved conflicts that have flared up for some reason.
Example.
Let us say within families, within
Okay.
let's say within. Sometimes it is interpersonal within organizations also.
Mostly it is.
So if it is unresolved, if it is perpetuated within an organization, and if it is disregarded as nothing, then it actually festers, keeps festering, and then it finally explodes. And when it explodes, there is it leads to dangerous consequences sometimes, to the extent of causing mayhem within an organization, or sometimes causing the entire team to be sick, in other words. It affects the overall health of the team.
Yes.
Team spirit is lost, teams cohesion is lost, teams, the camaraderie is no longer there, so people don't trust each other, and there is so much of bickering between one another. So there has to be a very conducive, positive environment for a team to be efficient. So what are your thoughts on this?
Very much so. That is an essential part of organizational behavior. Now, you have to have group meetings all the time. At least, sometimes you have something called stand-up meetings. You have just a few people just standing up rather than having to sit down and that formality without that. What happened today? Was there a problem today? Yes, there was a problem. This one was not happy with what I did. Then why was that? At least you can have a discussion and say, oh, please, let's try to do it this way. I think it may be better if we do. What do you think? They will have to find a solution to that. Because if you as the boss try to say, then they'll say, we had no chance to even give an idea. So that part, I think that's why meetings are necessary in an organization. Periodic meetings, very frequent meetings, in fact, problem-solving meetings, not deciding on concepts and objectives of the organization. Those can be done biannually or annually. But when you, and so in a family also, one of the most important things in the old days is the meeting at breakfast and lunch and dinner maybe. Everybody is there. And then the parents will ask, or the daddy or mommy, who is the more prominent leader of the house. They will have a discussion with the children. So what happened? Who fell into the ditch yesterday? Or why were the animals not fed? And then there'll be people who look sheepishly also, who are guilty, who didn't.
Why was I not fed?
Why? No, I'm talking about in a farm situation, or in a place where school. What happened? Were you bullied yesterday, or did you bully someone? Or why are you so sad? Because I got bullied. So what was that about? So did you tell your teacher? I'm afraid if I tell my teacher, then everybody will know and everybody will be against me. So all these things are there. There's this dynamics you have to solve every day. So every day is a day for solving problems. Even in a family, among husband and wife also, I'm sure there'll be everything, because nobody hears them. We are alone in a bedroom. They don't hear what they're talking. But everybody has problems.
Right. So we should not let anybody...
Yeah, the festering problem is very important. Now, as a health person, I say I have a wound in my leg. And if I don't manage it, that will get bad, and finally I might lose my leg also. So like that, a problem that you have festering in your own mind also about somebody, if you don't go and talk to that person, then that person may never know that you had a problem with that person. Let's say somebody said something bad about you, and then you're very unhappy with that person. Now, there are the psychologists that talk about you must be assertive. You don't have to be aggressive, but you must be assertive. You have to tell that person, I did not like what you did to me today. You talked very ill of me among everybody else, and it's not a joke. I'm very unhappy about that. And please be careful, don't be so bad to me. I cannot laugh it off. If you say that, that person will not do it after that.
So before it becomes a full-blown conflict,
nip it at the bud.
Nip it in the bud. Yeah. So nobody has to run the gauntlet because of unnecessary conflicts, and conflicts have to be resolved before it is full-blown, before it
everybody
reaches
wants harmony, right?
Yeah, before it reaches disastrous consequences.
Yeah.
That's where peace
resides.
That's where peace resides. So with this, Dr. Absar Yusuf, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum.